Hello and welcome to Beat the Expert. I'm Daniel and I'm an insecure wireless access point.
And I'm Craig and I may not have permission to access this file.
Today it's your chance to meet two experts from Scotland's cybersecurity industry. You'll find out about what they've been working on and ask the questions that you want answered in order to find out more about this really interesting area.
So yeah, you've seen movies and TV shows where tech-savvy cyber criminals hack into government and business security systems. But it's not fiction. Hackers regularly steal confidential information and data from governments and companies. And that's why employers are calling out for more people with cybersecurity skills. And in the future, they'll be looking for even more. So that gives you lots of opportunities to play a vital role in protecting us from cybercrime.
So today's theme is all about protecting our digital world, and we're going to be talking to Mohammed and Cheryl about what it takes to defend it. So before we get started, I'd like to welcome some of the schools and the groups that are watching today and sending in their questions. So a big hello and good morning to Breadalbane Academy. Hello to Garnock Community Campus. Glasgow Clyde College, you're tuning in as well. Hello, good morning. Liberton High School over in Edinburgh. We've got my old high school joining, Linlithgow Academy, hi. And let's also say hello to Marr College.
Yeah, Daniel, I'm seeing even more questions coming in now. I can see questions coming from St Paul's RC Academy in Dundee. Thank you very much for taking part today. I can see Stirling High School as well, so I know that you've done a lot of these types of activities. Thanks for joining us. And West Hill Academy, that's another school that are doing a lot of cybersecurity activities as well. Thanks for joining us. I can also see Arran High School and the James Young High School. Thank you for joining us today. And Uddingston Grammar, thanks for joining us this morning.
A few more groups have just tuned in. So hi to New College, Lanarkshire. We've also got some international viewers today taking part. So hello to the SAC Cyber Club who are in Texas. And also St Joseph's Primary, they're also taking part in the session today.
Brilliant, an international session then today, Daniel. So if people want, the point of this today is to be interactive. So we want you to send in your questions to ask to Cheryl and Mohammed. So you can send your questions to us by going to the URL that's at the bottom of the screen. You can scan the QR code, go to that website and send us in your questions and we can put it to our experts.
So we've already had quite a lot of questions come in already, but keep them coming. You can do it at any point during the session. So this QR code and the web address, that's going to be there the whole time. So just keep the questions coming in. Teachers and adults, you can take part too. So you can send us questions or you can also tweet us using the handle at the bottom, which is @DigitalWorldHQ. I think it's time we get started though and bring on our first guest.
Hello Mo and welcome to our Meet the Expert session. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, I'm very glad to be here, thanks.
Fantastic, so let's get started and let's talk about what you do. So what is your job? What do you do?
So I am a security engineer with a company called Adarma. My primary role is to put in security controls using the newest technologies to stop criminals from stealing data and getting unauthorized access to machines. And some of the companies that we work with range from financial institutions to a lot of the big retailers that we all know and love.
Brilliant. So you're the perfect person for this Meet the Expert session then?
I would hope so, yeah.
So let's start with your cyber profile then. So we ask this to all our guests. So some quick fire questions for you. What was your favourite thing to do on the computer when you were a teenager?
Oh, wow. This throws back to the old days. So I used to be really into YouTube when I was probably like 14, 15, 16. And I used to put up a lot of like Call of Duty and Battlefield videos and stuff like that. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was a lot of fun actually. And that was where I spent a lot of my sort of former days getting to grips with how to use a computer and everything that comes along with it as well. So unfortunately,
so this is
all those videos
a return to YouTube for you then?
It is, yeah.
You want to tell people to like this video and subscribe to us?
Like and subscribe, yeah. Comment down below as well.
What would be your hacker name then? Okay, tell us your hacker name.
Oh, this is a good one. I think I would have to go for Malware Mo, I think. It's a bit ironic given that I'm a security engineer, but yeah, it's pretty on the nose.
I look forward to the Malware Mo merchandise then in the future.
T-shirts coming soon.
And the last bit to fill in your cyber profile, what cheat code would you like to be able to use in real life?
Ooh, this is a good one. I think probably going to what you can do in GTA. I think probably being able to call in cars wherever you want, or whatever type of car. Just a couple dials on the phone, and then just plumb comes down the car. Just jump in it and drive away. It sounds like a really fun cheat code, if you ask me.
That'd be definitely handy. That would be handy. Brilliant. So we've got a clip to play now, which is basically it's the clip from the company that you work for. So let's have a look at this video now.
So today's session, Mo, is all about cybersecurity, and you work with loads of different businesses, you were just saying. So why is cybersecurity important to businesses? Why do they get you? Why do they get Adarma to come in and help them out?
So the video had sort of mentioned it as well. One thing about cyber resilience. So that's just making sure that a lot of the businesses are able to withstand when, you know, a lot of the time nowadays attacks come from people who just want to try. So a lot of the time, you know, a lot of companies put a lot of money to try to stop that sort of stuff. So my job is to come in and provide advice, and also a lot of the technologies that are out there. We are sort of there to offer the best sort of guidance that we can, and also come in and actually put in security controls as well. So, you know, nowadays with all of our lives being so based online, a lot of the stuff that we do is, you know, heavily focused on being online. So our job is to come in and make sure that all stays safe. So, you know, whether it's you're ordering food or sending money to family back home or anything like that, at some point, someone like me has to come in and make sure everything's safe and secure.
Super. We've got a question coming from one of the viewers. So this is coming from St Paul's Roman Catholic Academy in Dundee, and it's the S5 PC Passport class. And they've asked, what's your typical working day routine like? So maybe if you could sort of tell the viewers, like, what did you do yesterday, or what does a typical day look like for a security engineer?
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question. So my role is an interesting one, because we are what's called client facing. So some roles you don't really interact with many people outside of who you work with. My job, and especially what I did yesterday actually, was based around a lot of meetings. So we speak to a lot of different teams. A lot of the time it's based around advice or how to implement different security measures. So a lot of it is having conversations with people to understand, you know, how they can better secure themselves, and also a lot of the time is spent behind, you know, work with the terminal, you know, using Linux, getting in with Linux machines and securing them, and making sure everything is all right with them as well. So it can vary. Sometimes a lot of the day it's talking, a lot of other days it's just sat behind keyboard and mouse and just cracking away reading.
Sounds like you get a good mix, and you know, if you are really technical and you want to spend a lot of time, you know, like doing stuff on computers, on terminals, using Linux, different operating systems, you know, you can do that. But it's also nice that it sounds like it's actually more of a social job than probably a lot of people realize. And thinking about those stereotypes, you know, a lot of us have that stereotype of hackers typing furiously in hoodies or stealing millions of pounds. And to link that into a question that we've had from Callum at Stirling High School, they've asked, why are hackers dangerous? So I suppose what are your thoughts there?
Why are hackers dangerous?
Yeah.
Very interesting question. So usually why people hack varies for a lot of reasons. You know, sometimes it can be someone who just wants to see if they can do it, and just test their skills. And other times it's, you know, countries or very, very wealthy organizations that are up to no good. So it can range from, you know, wanting money out of people, especially with what a lot of the ransomware attacks that's been going on recently. as well as just, you know, for to be able to hold a lot of companies hostage as well. Actually, they hold their data, saying, "Hey, you need to pay us a lot of money before we can get this back." So, again, the reasons can vary depending on, you know, what it is they're trying to get, or, you know, a lot of the times as well, it can be just for the sake of, you know, they believe that a company is doing something wrong, or not being very ethical. That's another reason for them to do that as well. So it's a very interesting question, actually. There's a lot of layers to it as well, depending on where you look. So yeah, very, very interesting question. I would say, actually, a bit of research as well. Actually, if you look into it, the reasons will surprise you as well, depending on what sort of attack it is as well. So yeah, if that's something you're looking into, I would say definitely do a bit of research on that, because the reasons are honestly endless at some points.
Yeah, I can imagine there are sort of, everyone's got different motives, and exactly depending on whatever the target is, what they could do really depends. Here's a question we've had from Mrs. Wallace. It's at Joseph's Primary, and she's asked, do you have any interesting stories about any hack attempts? And I'm going to add something onto that as well. I'm going to ask, have you ever felt like you're in a movie or saving the world? Do you have like a really like a nice quick story you could say, sort of like, that was a cool day?
Yeah, actually. So my first time I was working with a client, I was looking into some logs for people logging in at different times. And at first it was a case of, oh, people are logging in, say, you know, 7, 8 p.m., which isn't typically abnormal or anything like that. You know, some people like to work a bit later. But we were also having people log in at very early times in the morning, like between 12 midnight and, you know, 6 a.m., which is a bit odd. I wasn't too sure about it, but, you know, sometimes, you know, someone might just wake up and think, oh, I need to do something. So I had mentioned to one of the other guys I was working with, I was saying, hey, this looks a bit odd. Do you mind just having a look? And, you know, I didn't hear anything for a few days. And then he comes back to me saying, hey, you know that the logins you saw people logging into, that was from countries that shouldn't be having people log in and attempt to log in and stuff like that. And he was like, oh yeah, come, I'll show you what we're going to do to actually see if we can help stop that. And a few clicks later, you know, typing in some rules into one of the tools that we use called Splunk, we were able to implement a detective control to manage what time people come on to their systems. And it seems like such a mundane task. You just, you know, don't really think too much about it. But in actual fact, you know, it was one of the entry points that hackers use a lot of the time, is accessing people's accounts that they might have compromised from the country that they're in, just to test if they can. Whether or not they can get access or not, they don't really care. They just want to see if they can. So yeah, it seems so mundane, but in actual fact, the implications and what was being or trying to be done was, you know, something out of a TV show, if you ask me. But then the reality of it seems so normal, if anything. But I guess that's the modern day sort of pirates and on the sea and whatnot comes into play. But yeah, that was really interesting. That was sort of my first client engagement as well. So going out to the real world and seeing that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's a good story. Like first day, sort of you spot something small and you investigate and you think, actually you've uncovered something potentially bigger that, you know, could have led to something really bad. So I can see we've got a lot of questions coming in. What we're going to do now is we're going to introduce our next guest, Cheryl, but Mo's going to be back in a few minutes time and we can ask questions. So keep your questions coming in. But for now, let's introduce our next guest, who's Cheryl. Hi Cheryl, how are you doing?
Hi there, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, it's great to have you. So just to introduce yourself to all of the people watching today, what's your job? What do you do? How would you describe it to people?
Sure, I'm Cheryl Torano. I'm an experienced security engineer. I've just recently come into a new job. I'm the business development manager of a brand new cyberQuarter that we are developing at Abertay University.
Super. So you probably heard us asking Mo a few questions and we called it a cyber profile. So again, this is something that we ask all of our guests. So you probably had a bit of a head start to think about how you want to answer these. So our first question to you is, what was your favourite thing to do on the computer when you were a teenager?
Okay, well, I need to show my age a bit here, because when I was a teenager, computers weren't in every home. We certainly didn't have one at home, we couldn't afford one. So the computers that I used were in school, and they were for office and information studies, so we learned how to use Word, Excel, not like we would do today. They weren't for internet browser and things like that. So yeah, I don't have very exciting stories about when I was a teenager. It's when I got older that I got interested in computers.
Do you think using the computers in school kind of piqued your interest then, or was it much later on that when you were doing other things on the computer that then you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this?
It definitely piqued my interest. When I first left school, it was office administration that I went into. So again, computer based. I worked in that for about 10 years, and then I escalated into like computer networking, ethical hacking. So yeah, the computers, it definitely held my attention. That was something that I wanted to learn about. I found it more interesting than maths and stuff.
This next one, this is the question everyone wants to know the answer to. What would be your hacker name, or what is your hacker name? Are you a hacker, Cheryl?
Yes, I am an ethical hacker, and my hacker name is just Cyber Cheryl.
Nice and simple.
Yes, no one would guess that was your real name either.
Yeah.
If you could use any cheat code, from any game in real life, what would it be?
See, this is a tough one for me, because I would love to have invisibility. So I would love to be able to have an invisible cloak or something like Harry Potter style. I would also love to be able to read minds. So if there was a cheat code for either of those two, I would definitely use it.
Those are two strong answers. Yeah. I think if I was to go for one, I'd go for invisibility out of those two.
That would be so cool, wouldn't it?
So we've got a clip of a project that you're proud of and you've been involved in. So let's go to that clip just now, and then we'll chat about it in just a minute.
I'm your child's best friend. I've been in your house. I've been in your kitchen. I've even been in your daughter's bedroom. I've been listening to everything. I recorded it and uploaded it to the cloud. Now I'm going to sell all your data to the highest bidder.
You never know who is behind the key. You never know who is listening.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm an ethical hacking graduate here at Abertay University, and this is an interactive talking doll.
Hello, friend.
As part of a project here at Abertay, we hacked the doll. The doll wasn't supposed to be able to say bad words. We went into our database and we removed our blocked word list, which allowed the doll to say anything that we tell her to.
Oh, now I can say.
So I'm Dr. Lindsay Shepherd from the Division of Cybersecurity, and the ethical hacking students here have basically shown that children's toys can be vulnerable and have exposed serious flaws. But it's not just children's toys that are vulnerable. For example, there's other devices in your home, such as
Fridge, toothbrush, Hoover.
So these types of devices can be vulnerable as well. Quite often, security is an afterthought when developers are creating these items and tools. And with the growing number of internet-connected devices being brought into homes, this is a huge concern.
If you see me on campus, say hello.
So you hacked a doll. How did that come about?
Yes, we certainly did. So it's an interactive talking doll. She comes with an app. She can connect to Bluetooth and stuff. It was actually back when I was in university. It was part of my second year project. One of the lecturers came in with this doll and was like, "Who wants to try and hack the doll?" Me being the only female on the course, I was like, okay, I'll take the doll. Hacked her, removed her bad word database. She was, of course, she's a child's toy, so she wasn't meant to be able to swear or say inappropriate words or anything like that. After I was finished with her, she was not so nice, Kayla, after that. She had a bit of a potty mouth. It was a really, really interesting project. And at the end of the project, it made world news. The doll got pulled from the market. It showed how easy it is to manipulate a child. So the scenario that I'd used to explain it to people was, if you could imagine there's a little girl sitting in her bedroom playing with her Kayla doll, quite the thing. If I was a malicious hacker, I could go outside her house, connect my phone to her doll, and be like, "Oh, I've got sweeties, come outside." It's terrifying to think that a child's toy could be used against them like that. So that's why I was really keen to take on that project and just show the dangers of Internet of Things devices. Anything like a doll can be hacked.
So is the idea with the doll, that it's got the app, and then you tell it to say things, or you can sort of communicate through it. Is that kind of the idea?
That's right,
Yeah.
yes. She does come with an app that you fully exploit it, but she's also just a Bluetooth speaker, so you can just connect your phone to her in like a text-to-speech app and get her to say whatever you want that way. It was really, really scary how easily a toy could be manipulated like that.
I bet you didn't expect when you started your course, you know, like one of your projects would be, here's a doll. Just see what you can make, see what you can do with it.
No, and I didn't expect it to follow me around so long either. It was meant to be a project that lasted for one term, but here we are like 6 years later and we're still talking about the doll. She's now famous.
I think it's great that it's not just about like, you know, cybersecurity to protect businesses or big banks or things like that, but like if someone has an interest in protecting people, protecting children, then actually you can use your cybersecurity skills to do something about that as well.
Definitely. For me personally, I've always been interested in protecting the individual, and especially kids, vulnerable people online. That is where my interests lie. Don't get me wrong, it's great to protect businesses and organisations, but for me it's protecting the real people, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that part of the job.
So today's session is about cybersecurity and you're working at the cyberQuarter. So what is that? Tell us a bit more about it.
So the cyberQuarter, it's a brand new building being launched by Abertay University. It is 4 floors of everything cyber. There will be security operations centres going on there. There will be projects with students and industry working together. There's a huge event space. There's a cinema in the building. It's going to be a really, really cool place to visit. So any young people listening, ask your teachers to get in touch and bring you along when the building opens. There'll be lots of cool things going on in there, dolls and stuff you can come and hack.
So I know that this project, you know, from what I was reading about it on the website, it's the idea that's bringing together people from cybersecurity companies, people who are working in industry, alongside the university academics and then the students as well. So what is the best thing about bringing all these people together?
Oh, the best thing? There's lots of good things. So one side of it is getting academia and industry to collaborate. So there's a lot of great work goes on in universities, there's a lot of great work goes on in industry, but right now they don't always work hand in hand, they don't share that knowledge. So that is a big aim of the cyberQuarter, is that we want people within industry to start working together and sharing things that they've learned, working on problems together. 2 minds are better than one and all that. And then from the students aspect of it, it's going to be a great way that students can graduate with actual experience. A lot of graduates just now, when they go for interviews, they're hit with, "Oh, you don't have experience for the job." So the cyberQuarter will be a way that students can actually get some hands-on experience, real-life learning before they graduate. So they will be graduating with experience too.
It's brilliant. I think some of the times when you're studying, especially if it's quite a practical subject, you know, you do wonder what is it like in the actual job doing it, what is it like to work in that, and by having that experience at uni, I can imagine that must be a really invaluable thing to get to do as well.
Definitely, it'll be allowing the students to work alongside potential employers. For me personally, I think that when you're choosing a job, it's as much you choosing the right fit with the employer as it is the employer interviewing you. So it gives both parties the opportunity to work together and just feel each other out and decide, do I want to work for this company? Is this the type of employer that I would like to work for? So I'm hoping that it'll be really valuable for the students.
Cheryl, we've had lots of questions come in from you. Thank you to everyone who's already started submitting questions. You can do it more just now by using this link. This is a question, Cheryl, from Garnet Community Campus. This is from their S5 class. So the question is, what course did you do at university?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I took a kind of different approach. I went to university a bit later. So when I first left school, I worked for like 10 years in office environments, worked my way up to office manager, and there was no place else I could really go. At that point, I then went to college, and it was computer networking that I'd done to start with. So I'd done an HND in computer networking. I then got interested in cybersecurity, and I discovered Abertay's ethical hacking degree. It was offensive security that we were taught which was really interesting.
Brilliant. And then that's what's led you on to doing what you do now and still working in that area as well. I've got a question for you here. Now, this is a question that we always get asked. This is from Callum in St Andrews. What is the salary like working in a job like cybersecurity?
It's a lot better than the salary I got when I was working in an office, I could tell you that. That was, to me, one of the main incentives for going back to retrain in technology, was to get a better salary. Obviously, I'm not going to say how much my salary is, but I could tell you it's comfortable, it's enough to live off. Definitely incentives to go for it.
Cybersecurity roles in Scotland, like the salary, no matter what company you're looking for, it is going to be higher than it is for most jobs. It's above the average for it as well. So I think, that's a good point. If someone is out there watching just now and they're thinking about, in a job in the future, I'd love to, be able to do all this, I'd like to have the money to be able to do this, then I think cybersecurity is that could be a job that you look at and say, well, actually, you can be well compensated, you can get paid well to work in this area.
You certainly can. I have essentially doubled my salary from when I was working in administration to what I receive now. It's definitely beneficial.
Brilliant. So, Daniel, I think we've got more questions coming in just now, but I think we should get everyone together, shall we?
Yep, I agree. I think a lot of the questions that we've got, it'd be good to get answered and have more of a discussion around them. So let's bring Mo back into the scene. So welcome back.
We're all here.
Welcome back, Mo. Just when we were talking about university and college courses and sort of Cheryl's journey, we've had a question come in from St Paul's PC Passport class again. And I guess put the same question to you, Mo, sort of like, did you go to college or university? What were the courses that you studied to get your job?
Yeah, so I had gone into college and I studied software development. And that was, using languages like C#, C++, a lot of web development stuff as well. And I realized during my time over college, it wasn't the sort of web front stuff wasn't exactly for me. I did enjoy programming. The skill itself was quite rewarding, seeing lines of code turn into something visual and something you can interact with. And then I went on to study computer systems engineering at university. And after doing a year of that, I realized it wasn't really for me. It was more of on the basis of like electrical engineering, down that sort of path, and I didn't really enjoy it. And then I was actually, funnily enough, I was watching a TV show called Mr. Robot, and it sort of highlighted to me about the realities of not necessarily cybersecurity, but the impact we can have as cybersecurity individuals and practitioners. So I had changed my course to then go into computer network security, and that was the most fun and I've actually ever had in education. It was fantastic. You learn so much from going to somewhere like that and having lecturers that are genuinely interested in the fields that they talk about as well. I remember very distinctly there was a class on hashing and the sort of the path that you have to go down and sort of discussing the implications of it, and it was amazing. Honestly, it was one of the best experiences I had in a classroom. But yeah, my overall the degree covered a lot of different areas in networking, but also from the side of a computer itself, hardening the computer and the servers that it will connect to. It was a lot of fun, and it gave me the knowledge or the baseline knowledge to then join Adarma as a security engineer and sort of push that out through the world as well.
Super. Cheryl, here's a question I think might be best if you answer it. It's what are your views on college or university education versus going straight to sort of vendor qualifications from the sort of the companies that make the tools and things? So this one's coming from Paul at Glasgow College.
So I would say that there's no right or wrong answer here. Both approaches work very well. I personally took the academic route and got into cybersecurity through university, but I know of others that haven't gone down like the education route. They have self-studied, they have got a job and worked their way up. I would say that there's no right or wrong answer here. It's also important to remember that you don't have to have a technology mindset to work in cybersecurity. There's a lot of different roles there that doesn't involve you being technically minded at all. Please don't be put off by anything like that. That there's definitely room for everyone in cybersecurity, and it doesn't matter which route you take into it, whether it be through education, through self-learning, through taking a job, and just working your way up. Every route is possible, and go for it. Just try whatever way works for you. Education isn't for everyone, and that's okay.
Brilliant. We've got more questions coming in now. I'm going to ask you some questions that will come in. I think the sort of theme of these questions is advice for people who are looking to get started in cybersecurity. So I can see from the people who've been sending in these questions, we've got people from colleges, primary schools, high schools, right across and at all different levels. One of the questions that I'm seeing here, and it'd be good to get both of your opinion on this. This is from Jonathan at Stirling High School. What is the best thing to do to develop cyber skills? So I'm thinking here maybe what sort of resources or what things have helped you along the way to get started in this area?
You want to go first, Mo?
Sure thing. So it's a very, very good question, actually, especially not knowing where to begin. The internet is your best friend, really and truly. There's so many resources that you can get that are either free or paid for. And from there, like for example, Udemy, I know has quite a lot of courses available on there as well. And they're actually relatively cheap. I think they're below like £10. And I think actually they have a promotion at the moment where it's the entry level cybersecurity fundamentals. I think it's free at the moment. So you don't even need to pay anything for that to be able to get sort of the lowdown on the fundamentals that you would need to know for cybersecurity or getting into it. And then from there, from even YouTube, for example, is a really good place just to, see how to actually go about, if you want to go down the technical route, for example, if you want to play around with Wi-Fi, for example, and try to, see how you can break into Wi-Fi, for example, your own home Wi-Fi, just to clarify. You can start from there, and it will, there's loads of skilled people that will be able to show you step by step and all the commands to be able to do it properly as well. And it's starting from there and then sort of going down the rabbit hole that, that you might find yourself going down. You might find other topics that you might find a lot more interesting. I find the wireless area to be very, very interesting, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, RFID, all that sort of stuff. Again, a lot of this information is available online as well. For free, a lot of the times you just got to do a bit of research and find the right place to go get to it. But yeah, all the information is there.
And I suppose it's about finding it from trusted sources as well, isn't it? Because obviously, you want to make sure that you're following the right practices. And as you said, looking up official resources from cybersecurity professionals and companies is going to be better than just sort of like, don't find the first hacker you find online and think, oh, I'm going to follow their tutorial. Yeah, knowing how to do that is important too. Cheryl, what about you? What do you think is the best way to get started developing skills in this area?
So similar to what Mo said, there's a lot of online resources available. So self-teaching, continually learning. Technology changes all the time, so it's a continual learning process. Like Mo says, there's a lot of free resources online. There's a lot of official resources as well. Especially for girls. We all know that girls are seriously underrepresented in tech and in cyber. So there's things like the Mossy Cybersecurity Institute. They actually allow girls to sign up for free, and there's a lot of challenges and stuff in there that you could take. There's similar courses like that as well throughout. As Mo mentioned, the fundamentals course, that's free just now as well. So there is a lot of online resources where you can go and just work through them at your own pace. I'd also suggest reach out to people that are already in the industry. Like, we're a friendly bunch. Reach out to us, ask questions, ask us to introduce you to people, ask us to let you know of network events that are coming up. That is the best way as well to learn, is to speak to other people already in the industry and ask them to help you, ask them to mentor you, which most of us are fairly happy to do.
And I think, Cheryl, you'll be hoping that people come along to the CyberQuarter as well.
Definitely. I know that a lot of the schools, especially in Dundee, they don't have the facilities or the resources to be able to teach cybersecurity in schools. So that is a big part of what the cyberQuarter building will mean. It will mean that you could ask your teachers to bring you along to the building and you can come and work alongside us. You can come and play with malware, ransomware in a safe environment, an environment that you wouldn't be able to do in school. So yeah, by all means, please get your teachers to reach out and come along to the cyberQuarter and come and work with some ethical hackers.
And Mo, you've been involved in developing something for classrooms as well with Skills Development Scotland. So you've been doing sessions where you team up with school teachers to deliver, it was digital forensics, is that right? That was good, looked at?
Yeah, that in that sort of environment, from myself who's worked in, the real world scenarios, stuff like that, the reality of it and putting it in front of you guys to be able to ask us questions as well. The world of cybersecurity isn't actually as daunting as it may seem. It is a very, very big area. There are so many different areas that it covers. But if you're technical, then there's this area that you can go into the technical side of things. If you're non-technical as well, there's also the non-technical side as well. So there's so many different areas one can get into, and asking the right people the right or wrong questions, really and truly. That's the only way to learn. Is approaching people like myself and Cheryl, and just asking questions. There's never a dumb question. The sheer fact of trying to learn, it says a lot and it goes a long way as well.
I'm going to put in a few other suggestions on the Digital World website. In the cybersecurity section, we've got a bunch of different lesson plans of different areas of cybersecurity. So, if you're interested in doing with your class, looking at sort of an introduction to penetration testing or an introduction to open source intelligence or an introduction to sort of passwords and hashing and encryption, we've got some lesson plans that you'd be able to pick up and play with your class. And if you're a young person wanting to kind of get a flavour of what it's like to work in the area, check out the Cyber Skills Live website. We've got lots of different sort of online they almost feel like games when you're playing them, but they'll give you an idea of the actual tasks that people who do these jobs do every day. So I would check them out as well.
What's the website for that, Daniel?
cyberskillslive.com.
Brilliant. Okay, one more question here, and then Daniel, you can see there've been a few more being sent in. So what is the one common myth about working in cybersecurity, about working as an ethical hacker or working in a security engineer that you would like to debunk? So
I'll go first if this time, if that's okay.
Yep.
It goes back to a question that was asked earlier: why are hackers dangerous? All hackers are not dangerous. There is different types of hackers. So there's white hat hackers, which are the good guys. There's black hat hackers, which are the malicious guys that could be defined as dangerous. There's grey hat hackers, which are in between, a bit good, a bit bad. So yeah, that is a myth that all hackers are bad and malicious. People like me, we are ethical hackers. Organisations will pay us to hack something and then tell them how we hacked it so they can then defend against it. So yeah, there's one myth debunked.
Perfect. Mo?
It's interesting because, a lot of the time, the whole reason, I got into this myself is just out of curiosity, being able to wonder what if, or how does that work? It's a good mindset to start with, to go down. And, again, it can vary how quickly you can go from, I just want to learn how that works, to, I want to break that. There's a very fine line to walk down between that. But yeah, not everyone is bad. A lot of the time, it's just out of curiosity and just wants to know more. And towing the line, I think, is pretty important. But as you go into, you learn more and more that the line is quite thick between right and wrong in that regard, anyway.
Is there any other stereotypes that you want to break? I mean, neither of you are wearing a hoodie for a start. Neither of you are in a secret underground lair. I don't see any massive gaming keyboards in front of you at the moment.
No, I'm not a gamer, really. It's not something I'm into. I do own hoodies, but it's not something I don't sit with a hoodie up while I'm sitting hacking stuff. Yeah, it's taken in line with the ethics that go along with it. You're either in it for good or you're in it to cause malicious purposes. And yeah.
And another sort of one thing to sort of chime on as well is that there isn't, some industries, they have sort of like a typical person that might work for them. But in cybersecurity, honestly, it does not matter at all. Whether you might have learning difficulties or you might have some sort of physical disability. Honestly, cybersecurity does not care. As long as you're able to, you have the right skills, that's all that matters. When I started working for Adarma, I didn't really know what to expect in terms of sort of the people you'd be working with, but it's amazing. There's some people there who have been 20, 30 years into cybersecurity that sit just directly opposite me at times. And then there's people who are literally just like myself, who just started, who sat next to me as well. So, there is no sort of, I don't fit a certain category for me to be able to work in cybersecurity. It does not matter. It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you are able to do what needs to be done and keep people safe, that's the only thing that I care about.
There's a phrase you hear a lot in cybersecurity, especially sort of in the public sector, and it's sort of mix of minds. Sort of making sure that whenever you have a project, you try and form a team with a diverse range of people, because the people who might be hacking or the cyber criminals, they all think in different ways, and you need to have a variety of different people with completely different skills to be able to deal with these kind of problems. So you don't have to kind of fit the stereotypical mold to have a really successful degree in cybersecurity. I'd probably go as far as to say, if you don't fit the mold, you've maybe got an even better chance of making an interesting career out of it. I've just been checking out Twitter actually at the bottom, and quite a few schools and groups have been tweeting. So hello to Uddingston Grammar, New College Lanarkshire and St Joseph's Primary. A few people have asked for links to the resources, so what we'll do is we'll put them in the comments section at the end of the stream.
Make sure you like the video then, so that you remember to come back and look at the description and get those links.
I've got a few quick fire questions that have come through. I guess we could go through in our last few minutes. So if you could learn any other one skill, if time was no object, you had as much time as you liked, what skill would it be? I'll go to Cheryl first.
Oh, that is a tricky one. What other skill would I like to learn? I don't know, it would be something involving animals. I really love animals, so I would love to learn how to, look after animals properly, something like that.
How about
that
you,
could
Mo?
be a good cybersecurity task.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way I can merge the two together. Like...
I think for myself, I'm somewhat allergic to programming. I'll be honest, it's never been really my forte. But that is one thing I think, if time no issue, I'd probably spend a lot of time actually learning. I think predominantly Python is very, very important, and also C. If anyone's wanting to start programming, either Python is probably the easiest to get started with, but C is incredibly powerful once you know how to do it. But given throw all the time at it, that is definitely something I would want to hone my skills in a little bit more at.
Yeah, I think you've just debunked something else there, Mo, which is that you don't need to be a programming wizard to be working in cybersecurity.
Oh, most definitely not. No, it's good if you can. There are different jobs for you to do if you are very good at programming. But me personally, I learned whilst I was at college that it's not how my mind works. In all honesty, I'm a problem solver by nature, and that type of problem I don't really get along with very well. But yeah, it also goes back to what you said earlier on, Daniel, as well, about having mixed minds. Being able to, for example, if I come from a background of mainly networking, similarly to Cheryl as well, if you bring someone else in who's very good at programming and another person who's very good at, offensive security, that team right there probably makes more sense than having 3 people from the same university class all together, who grew up together as well. Do you know what I mean? So having that, that diversity in the mindset is really important as well.
Yeah.
That was actually one of our questions. So it came in from Hamish at Sterling. What do you think of the relationship between programming and cybersecurity? So hopefully that's answered that question. So if it's useful, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite, and it really depends on where you want to go and specialise afterwards. Craig, do you want to maybe choose one or two questions before we finish up? I know we're getting towards the end of the session now.
Yeah, let's do one more. Okay, so quick fire question here. At what age was it you decided that you were interested in working in cybersecurity? When did you realise that was the point?
For me, I was 27. It was later for me.
Well, I think for myself, it was specifically cybersecurity. It was probably my end of my first year at university, so probably like 20 or 21. I was sort of going down the route of computers anyway, but specified in cybersecurity was probably around sort of my end of my first year at university.
So like it might, even if you're 14 or 15 at school now, you know, if you don't have to have made all those decisions yet, you could still be following a career in this area, but actually the interest might come a wee bit later on. The last question here, just to reassure people, we've had quite a few concerned people who have asked us, are you able to spy on them right now? Can you see all their search history? Are you taking over their keyboards? Can you both confirm that you're not using your powers again? You're only using your powers for good. You're not attacking anyone just now that's watching this chat.
Yep, no hacking going on just now.
Yep, none at all. I think it requires a lot of effort, actually. I don't think people realise how much effort it takes to actually do something like that and pull it off. And yeah, we're only here to provide you guys information and try to guide you in the world of cybersecurity. We're hoping, actually, you guys might be the next generation of cybersecurity engineers and ethical hackers. So the last thing we want to do is try to hack your laptop and stuff like that. You might end up hacking us back instead.
Yeah, we are the good guys. We are the ethical hackers, the white hat hackers. We're not dangerous, malicious at all.
Excellent. Daniel? I think that's us.
I think it is.
Yeah.
So
thank you for joining us today. You know, everyone from Malware Mo to Cyber Cheryl as well. Thanks for giving up your time and answering all these questions as they've been coming in. It's been really interesting having you.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been really interesting. It's always great to hear questions from young people. I thoroughly enjoyed it today, so thank you.
Yes, most definitely. And honestly, the questions you guys are asking are in the right mindset already. So just keep going with it.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys think cybersecurity is the area for you, keep going. Just keep going. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And feel free to reach out to us if you've got any questions. I'm always happy to talk to anyone. If you want a mentor, anything, reach out.
Likewise as well.
So next month we're actually having another Meet the Expert session, and it's still going to be on tech skills, but it's going to be looking at the space industry. So if you'd like to hear about sort of Earth observation, the science behind satellites and things like that, then you can join us on the 7th of October. And if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get updates on all our latest videos. So the link to sign up, it will be in the description below, but also on the Digital World website. But that kind of ends the formal side of today. So it's bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me as well. See you next time.